All right, so here we go. So what we currently have, this is what your game should do. If it doesn't, like I said, I'm going to walk around towards the end of class, help you guys get to here if you're having issues. So this is what you should see. All right, a bunny blitted. Again, what's blitted mean? Gets put on screen, yep. At 200, 200. Now, one thing I want to do real quick, and I don't want to blow up my computer, so I'm going to write it up here. So 200, 200, you know, we're just going to say is right here. Oh, that's too late.
Wait, I thought it was 100.
100, 100. Doesn't really matter. Right? So that is the point, 100, 100, 200, 200, whatever. Our image is blit the top left corner at that location. So just so you guys know, that is how things are blitted. The top left of whatever image you're blitting is put at the point you tell it to. It's not the dead center. You could code it if you... What's up?
Oh, keep going.
You could code it in such a way so that the image is blitted at 100, 100 minus half the width and half the height, so then it would be blitted like that. So it's blitting the top left corner at the coordinate xy, but xy equals 100, 100 minus half the width, half the height. Does that make sense? It's just a little bit of trig, math, algebra, geometry. I don't know. Math. Josh.
So when you're blitting the image, like, is the image itself, is that like dead center of the image is where you're blitting it onto that point? Or is the image, like, is it blitting the left corner of that image to 100, 100?
It is blitting the top left corner of the image to 100, 100.
Of that, okay.
So
You're
right
really
here,
actually getting dead center 100, 100 of the grab it. You're actually getting that top left corner right there.
where my mouse is, because it's a transparent background of the image, where my mouse is, that is give or take 100, 100. That is also the top left of the image. It's a lot easier to see if you have an image that doesn't have a background, because you would see the corner and that's where it would be. Does that make sense? Yeah. So again, if you want the dead center of your image to be blitted at 100, 100, you would do, you do screen dot blit player, comma, and then you would do 100 minus, how do we get the width of an image again, Van? Or do you have a question?
No, I was gonna say, I think I figured out a way to do it. It's,
how do you do it?
You do the minus player dot get underscore width divided by 2.
Is this divided by 2?
Yeah, but based on the order of operations.
Yeah, and then you would do the same thing, 100 minus player dot get height all over 2. And let's say our character is 100 pixels wide, it would then blit it at 50-50, but the dead center of our image would be at 100, 100. Yes?
Should we put that in where it draws the player or where it blits the player?
What do you mean where it draws the player?
I mean, not where it draws. Should we put it where it assigns the X and Y, or where it actually blits the player? Because I think if we put it where it blits the player, then it will always be in the center, and no matter where we tell it to go, in case we want to tell it to go somewhere else, so we don't have to write the code again.
I'm a little confused as to what you're saying, because you would blit it where you wanted it to be visible. So I would say you would do this where you blit it.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the position of the player?
I mean, yeah. I'm just like put that where it's.
Oh, you're talking about the 100?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this would be player position Y. This would be player X pause instead of 100.
Okay, got it.
So yes, you're correct. But I just, for sake of example.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So does everyone understand what his question was? Because if we had 100 minus this, it would always be blitted in the same spot. It would be 100 minus 50, for example, and it's always splitting at 50-50. We don't want that. We want it to be able to move. So instead of having 100, he's saying, well, don't you need a variable for his position? Because his position changes all the time. And the answer to that is yes. Player X position. So you would have, instead of having, like we have in our code, player X position and player Y position, we would have player X position minus this code. Does that make sense? Yeah. You guys want to see what this code on the screen does? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah? A little bit of an example. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use this same code right up here. Get width. So it's 100. So we're going to blit. We're going to minus player dot get width divide by 2. And then again, I'm going to copy and paste all this. And what am I going to do with it? Or never mind, I gave you the answer. Player Y position, player dot get height. Hopefully that works. Divide by 2. So the only thing that's going to change is he's going to be shifted. He should be right here if the code if I did that right. So we're going to exit that. Yes. Hey, he's in a slightly different spot. Not that you guys can really tell, but we can also do copy. We can blit the same player twice, so I'll actually do that as well, so you guys can see the difference. So this is where we don't change. This is where the top left is blitted at 100, 100. This bunny up here is where the center is blitted at 100, 100. So Caleb and then Catan.
Can you make like a multiplayer game so like you can have multiple people? Like
yep, that's exactly how you do it. You just split 2 players. And then you have, if you hit WASD, player 1 moves. If you hit the arrow keys, player 2 moves. So we're going to go over movement today, and to do multiplayer, you basically copy and paste the same code, but you change a couple variables. Was that your question, Catan? Okay, Carter.
When I run my program, the texture of the player and the texture of the grass are swapped. So my background is pretty much just a bunch of bunnies. There's a single grass square. Like, look at this. Like,
I know what it looks like.
That happened to me at first, and it was hilarious.
That's really funny.
It was terrifying.
I don't think that's right, but like, I wonder.
Everybody.
yeah, I want to see that.
Can we do that? Can we place the grass block?
Let's all go over there.
Alright, if you guys want to take 10 seconds, take a look. While I write this comment, have the player image blitted.
Wait, Carter, I think
What do you...
How did I get that?
Alright. What's up, Luke?
the same thing happened.
Okay, it was just a mix up, guys. I figured it out.
Oh, for this one?
Hey, there we go.
And again, this is saved online, so if you miss something, you can always go back to it after class.
I couldn't find it on
He
there.
wrote something.
It should be there. If it's not, let me know, but it's currently saved. Oh, wait, maybe not. Maybe I have... Uh-oh, do I have the wrong file saved there? I have the
entire game there.
I have the entire game there. I don't have what we're doing in class. That's my bad. I'll fix that.
Entire game there?
Oh.
Yeah.
Did we actually like play the game and see where it was?
No. No, you'll get an error because you won't be able to find the images. So you'd have to edit all of that.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
All right. So what we're gonna do now is let me scroll, make sure I don't miss any lines. All right. So, oh, also, someone asked, what does Pygame locals do. The simplest way, I looked it up. I was slightly off. I must have read it on like Stack Overflow, but then I found the exact question for what does Pygame locals do, import star. It loads in a bunch of constants, and I'm not 100% sure what constants those are because the documentation on Pygame was like 10 lines long. And it's like, oh, in this module, it loads constants, and in this one, it loads constants. And I'm like, can I have some like more info? And they were like, no. I was like, all right. All right, so now what we need to do, the way we move our character. Luke, when you play video games, does your character move at all times? Is your character always moving? When you're using the controller, what specific action do you do to get your character to move forward?
Left stick.
Oh, yeah, left stick, front, back, left, right. What? Front. You push forward. You pull back, and when you let go of that, it goes back to the middle, right? So your character only moves when you're pushing forward, right? So what we're going to do is we need to code two distinct states. On a keyboard, what are the two distinct states of a key? Pushed, not pushed. Down, up. Pressed, not pressed. So what we need to do is when we are pushing our key down, our character needs to move. And when we're not pushing our key down, the character needs to stop moving. Right? The way we're going to do that is we're going to have true and false variables. When we push a button, movement is, what do you think?
True.
True. When we're not pushing the button, that same movement is false. So that's all we're going to do is if we're hitting the W button, which movement, those of you who play computer video games, W is typically forward in first-person shooters. In our top-down game, what do you think W is? Up. S is
Down.
A is
Left.
D is
Right.
correct. So all we're going to do is if we're hitting this specific button, movement up is false, movement down is true, all that. That's all we're going to do. We're going to have 8 different if statements. Actually, we're going to have 10. So the first one determines we need another event type. We need to see is the button up or is the button down. Does that make sense? Okay. So all we're going to do, if event dot type equal Pygame dot key down, and key down needs to be in caps, but not kiwi down, key down. So this is checking to see, hey, the inputs to the game, are they keys being pushed down? You got that, Luke? Okay. That's what this line is doing. And then we hit enter. Now we just need to see if event, right? Now, the event, things in Python, or objects in coding have different attributes. Just like Libby is blonde and currently has a pinkish sweater and is wearing shoes, right? So you could say Libby dot hair is blonde, Libby dot top is pinkish sweater, very technical, and then Libby dot shoes or Libby dot feet is shoes, right? So what we're doing here is we have event dot type. What type of event are we looking for? Well, we're looking for key down. Okay. Well, that would be Libby's hair color. If Libby's hair color, yes.
Is key down like a built-in function for Python program?
For Pygame.
Oh, for Pygame?
Yeah. Because it has Pygame before it.
Okay.
So this is, Libby's hair is blonde. Okay, then we're gonna make sure if Libby's top is pinkish sweater, what we're gonna do is if event dot key, if the key that is being pushed down equal capital K underscore W colon. Are you lost or Luke? No? You're just not typing, so curious. What?
I just didn't type that last.
Oh, okay. What?
What happens if we get rid of event type Pygame key down and just have if event key equals W?
I think it then just is always true, because is the key there? Is I think how it works. But I think in order to determine whether or not it's being pushed down, you need that key down. If you just have event.key, I don't know anything happens. So if you want to test that out. Now, K_W. This is very important because how many number ones are on a keyboard?
1.
How many number ones are on this keyboard? 2. Yes. You guys have a condensed keyboard. So there are actually code for the 1 value here and the 1 value here. So in order for anything that's on a keyboard, essentially that's like this, right, in between my 2 fingers, those of you in between my 2 fingers, you have to have K underscore and then the letter or the number. If you are doing numbers over here, I think it's KP underscore for keypad. So the difference between the two, the reason you need the K is to say, hey, on the keyboard, not the keypad. Now, I'm sure there are those of you who are wondering, well, what if I want to do tab? How do I do tab? Well, one, none of you sound like that, so that's just my typical whatever. So what you want to do is you go to Pygame, docs, keys. If you search that, what should pop up, pygame.key. This website, pygame.org/docs, will save you so much time. There is so much information on here. It's like you don't even need to memorize half of it. Like half of what I talk about. So this right here is telling you, well, what if I want to have backspace do something in my code? Well, you do K_backspace. What if I want a $, right? They have to hit Shift $. Well, you just type in $. What if, so K0, these are the numbers on the top right above the letters, but then you also have, where's KP?
Oh, you skipped it.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, well, there we are.
Oh, KKP. Oh, that's updated. At least I think so. You can now have stuff on the side. So it's keyboard, keypad. Keypad 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Page up, page down, F1, F2, caps lock, all this sort of stuff. So you need, if you want to do multiplayer, you will have to go to this website and you will have to find out how do you do the up, down, left, right, or how do I do IJKL, right, from movement, depending on how you want your characters to move. Does that make sense? So this pygame.org/docs is super helpful, because even if you just go to docs, readme, how to install, tutorials, import, there used to be reference. So this is an index of all the functions, classes, and methods. You can, make a circle, draw a circle. You can, blit. You can collide, rect, which is what we're actually going to use. You can color stuff. So you can do all of these things. And if you want to know how to do something, you go Pygame, docs, make mouse disappear. Front page, pygame.mouse. Okay, I didn't know that was a thing, so I'm going to go to pygame.org mouse, get pressed, get position, relative movement, set position, set visible. There we go. Hide or show the mouse cursor. And then you go, well, how do I use that? You click on it. So it's a Boolean. If Boolean argument is true, the mouse cursor will be available. This will return the previous visible state of the cursor. I don't really get that. I want to see an example. Oh, you gotta. Oh, if you have.
How do you go to all the tabs that you can use, like backspace and all that, on the pygame.doc, .org/docs?
You mean it's key, pygame.key.
Okay.
So for this one, set visible, get visible, if you put true inside the parentheses, would make it visible or not visible. By default, it's visible, obviously. So that's just a little, that website, pygame.org/docs, is a lifesaver, and you can learn so much from it. There's also the exact same thing for Python, and I'll show you that real quick. Python module list. 3.4.7. These are all of the modules that you can import by default. Oh my gosh, excuse me. That you can pull in by default. And we already know one of these. We know random. So if you want to know, well, what else can I do with random? We're going to cover some more stuff next chapter. But you can, warning, the pseudo-random generator should not be used for security purposes. For use cryptographic, use the secrets module. Oh, that's good to know. So don't, for cryptography, use random. But you can use all of these things: choice, choices, shuffle, sample, that sort of stuff. So don't be afraid to be like, I don't know how to do something in Python. I would like to know how to do this. Let me Google it. And between those two websites, you should have a lot of good information that you can find. All right, tangent over. Now we're going to do, we didn't make those variables. Player underscore up is true. Now I realize we did not make our player up, player down, player left, player right variables. So
We have to add that.
Yep. So what we're going to do is at the very top, underneath player X position, I'm going to go player underscore up is false. And then I'm just going to copy it 4 times. Or I'm sorry, paste it 3 more times. And I'm going to change this to down, left, right. Yes. Yeah. So what we're doing is we're saying by default, our character is not moving. Right? Because you don't want to start a video game and have your character running around and you're like, wait, what's going on? That's when you have a bug. When your character moves and you're not touching the controller, that's when you're lagging or something's wrong. Well, lagging is something wrong, so something's wrong. Does that make sense? Why we have a bunch of falses? Does anyone have any questions so far on either the if statements or why we have 4 values that are false? Eventually, we are going to change this to a list. So instead of having 4 variables, we have just 1 with 4 elements in it. But don't worry about that. We're going to get to that in, I think 2 chapters. So we'll come back and we'll edit some of our code to make it more efficient. All right, so now that we have these 4, player up is true. Now, I really don't want to type event.key equal player. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to copy those 2 lines. Paste, paste, paste. Now, this is where the difference between... Oh, wait, no, not here. We're going to change these to elifs. And instead of W, it's going to be A, S, D. Yes, ma'am.
What if the player wants to move up and right at the same time?
That's okay. We haven't gotten to that part yet. The part that controls that is later. With this, you can only have 1 event. So it's going through a for loop, and you have a pipeline of events. So if they hit D, what is that event? That is true. Okay, then we're going to keep it true until something else changes. So then we're going to, instead of up, we're going to go left, because when you hit A, you go left. When you hit S, you go down. And when you go D, you go right. Yes.
Will it return the values to false after your key is up? Or
We have to code that, and we're about to. And to code that, it's almost the exact same code, except instead of things being true, they need to be false and when key is up. So we have to change 5 things. So why rewrite those 9 lines of code? We're just going to copy it all and paste it. Am I going too fast?
No. A little bit.
Okay, I think if the overall smattering, if you get yeses and nos, I don't know, is that a good thing?
You're going about the right speed.
Are we
Yeah.
supposed to be able to move that or not?
No. Once you do this, we have one more if statement block to do in order for our character to actually move. What we need to say is, if player up is true, move our character. Yes.
This might be kind of a dumb question, but if some of the like LF lines are too far away from the light, like there's a couple extra spaces and one above them, does that affect it?
Yes. All the if and elif need to be the same indentation. The reason for that is you probably are missing a colon,
Okay.
or like an equal sign or something like that.
What if they weren't on the same line, but you had like colon and stuff? How would that like break the code somehow?
Like, yeah.
They have to be like on the same indentation.
All right. Yes, Luke.
So these notes are going to be online.
Yes. Everything I do, I'll make sure that our code then gets put online. So instead of key down, this needs to be key up. And all of these trues need to be false. And you have just coded we have 8 more lines, 2 if statements, 2 elif statements, and then your character will move. So if you run it right now, your character doesn't do anything, even if you hit WASD. So last thing, you want this to be 1 indent in. So go to the end of your key up if statement block, hit enter once, and then just make sure you're 1 indent in. If you are more than 1 indent in, your code won't work, and it might crash actually. So now we're gonna go if.
Can you say that again? So if you're like, you just hit tab once.
Yes, so be at the very left end, hit tab once, and then start typing. So we're gonna go if player underscore up equal true. If player goes up, what position X or Y changes? Y, does it increase or does it decrease? Decreases. So we're gonna go player Y pause. Oh darn it, I didn't teach you guys running totals.
Yeah, you did.
Minus oh yeah I did. Equals player, I didn't teach you the shortcut. Player Y pause. Oh my gosh, pause minus 5. So what this is doing is that if your position is 10, what we're doing, 10 equals 10 minus 5. What's our new position? 5. That's all we're doing. If we just have player position equals 5 or minus 5, it breaks your code because it has to be, it's not syntactically correct. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Syntactically correct. Grammatically.
Shouldn't one of them be X?
Yes, one of them will be. So then what we're going to do, again, why retype it when we can just paste it? We're going to paste it. And instead of if player up, if we move down, what position changes, X or Y? Y. And does it increase or decrease? Increase, yep. So we're going to go player down plus. Yes.
So would the speed be determined by that 5?
Yes.
Oh.
How quickly your character moves is dictated by the 5. What that means, and it's better once your player can move for me to discuss this. But what that means is your character will move 5 pixels per cycle. Well, what's a cycle? That is how quickly your code can how quickly the computer can execute your code for the game. So if your computer can cycle through 1 cycle a second, your character will move 5 pixels a second. But if you have a really fast computer, you may get 30 cycles per second. So your character will move 150 pixels per second. Yeah. You guys get that? Luke. What? Yeah. So then what we're going to do, again, why retype everything? We're going to copy, paste it. Now what I'm going to do just to differentiate, I'm going to comment player vertical movement, player horizontal movement. So I know that this is Y's and this is X because I don't have to think. I don't like thinking. So we're going to do player left. If we're moving left and right, well, we only have X left. So that's going to be player X position. If we're moving left, is our X position increasing or decreasing? Decreasing. Yep. Camden?
I just have a question on this. So
yeah.
For if player up equals true, wouldn't it be player Y position +5?
No. I can see why that would be this this top left corner is 0, 0. According to the code, according to the computer. Down here it's 640, 480. That is the X position and Y position of that corner, and the X position and Y position of that corner. So as you move up and to the left, you are losing. You're going down, and yep. It's not like in math where you have the X, Y coordinate like that. Yeah. It's basically this. You're in this coordinate, but everything's positive. Okay, so if we have the X position, then we're moving to the left and right. Player Y, wow, that was weird. Player X position. Oh, we also have to change this. Player X position and player Y. Yeah, you have to change those 2 variables as well. All right, so if everything was done correctly, you typically don't want to write that amount of code without testing it. But your character should now move. And if it doesn't move and you don't get an error, you have a logic error, probably an indentation. If you run the code and you get a syntax error, then fix that as it pops up because it might be a colon or something like that. But one thing I want to show you guys real quick. Some of you are asking, what if I only want him to move left or up, not both? You would change these. Wait. And why am I? What code am I about? Hang on, I'm confused. All right, so if, that's okay. If I change this to an elif, oh, you would just change them all to elifs.
Yeah.
Because now, whatever, I can't do both. It either I like being able to go diagonally, but that's up to you. So I'm just gonna make that an if. And if you have if, elif like this, if you have everything if statements, that makes you able to move backwards and forwards at the same time. Right? So currently, you guys can't see my keyboard. I'm holding A, but I'm tapping D, and I'm not moving. So it's either or, but if I had all these as if statements, what would happen, at least I think, it stops me if I hold D. So if I'm holding A and I'm tapping D, it stops me because I move back 5 pixels and then I move forward 5 pixels. So I will do elifs because I only want them to move one direction. One direction.
You only make those final 4 if statements, the elifs, and then you leave all the other ones prior the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yes.
Mine doesn't work.
What do you get? Do you get an error or?
No. It just doesn't work.
All right. Well, you got to make sure your indentations are correct. So I'll come take a look. Do you guys have any questions other than it's not working and you don't know why? Do you guys have any questions on if statements? You guys are pretty good with if statements?
Yeah.
You guys go with why?
I'm just a little bit confused in like for the player Y position equals player Y position minus 5. I don't get that.
All right. Let's say how much. Pick a number.
10.
$10 are in your wallet, right? What happens when I take $5 out of your wallet?
You have 5 left.
You still have 5. So your wallet equals your wallet minus 5.
Okay.
That's all that is. It's called a running total. Oh shoot, we didn't get to. All right, so real quick, an announcement. I'm gonna stop the video.